Live recording. Tea time with Day and Jorelis, but I have no tea, but Jorelis does.
I got my little tea set. We definitely need to get some tea sets, some
Yeah.
matching ones.
Oh, that would be so
Oh,
cute. We should make our
right.
own tea set.
Girl, you are onto
That's an
something.
idea.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Tea time. How was
Yeah,
your day?
my day was exhausting. But you see,
Ah.
what
Mhm.
what's so great about this is because I was like so tempted to cancel. I'm like, you know what? Let me just say I'm exhausted. I'm like, you know what? If I had to go into work at 8 p.m., I wouldn't cancel. I would still go into work. So I'm like, no, this is
So
something we
true.
can't cancel. We have to do it. So we have to
So
keep
true.
promises to ourselves.
Yes, self-accountability. And then another thing,
Exactly.
on my end, Jordan B. Peterson is in town, but no. You know why? Because I said I was gonna do this. I've been wanting to do this forever, and I'm not gonna let myself down. Like, no. I mean, it's you too, but I think to a certain extent we have to hold ourselves
Accountable.
accountable. If not,
Yep.
we don't get anything done. And I'm tired of not getting things done. I'm
Me
tired of
too.
like setting things up and just talking about things and nope.
And all the
I'm so
excuses.
proud of you, Day.
Thank you. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of you too. But then this will be us like
Thanks.
next week. Be like, oh, okay, we'll postpone it, and then we'll postpone it again, and then
No. Jordan B. freaking Peterson.
okay,
Like
you're good.
he holds a special place in my heart. Like, no. Um, I've seen him live before. Great experience, but this is so important.
You're gonna
It's
hate
so
me because I
important.
don't know who that is.
Oh, it's okay. I'll tell you about him. He's a psychologist. Yeah, he's into psychology and um he I want to say brings out like the best in people. For example, when he started talking live, he's like, I just noticed everyone would come dressed up, like young adults in suits. The girls would
Mhm.
get dressed up really nice, and he's all about self accountability, all about like um taking care of your house first, taking care of
Mhm.
yourself first. That's the number one step to developing yourself and changing the world, right? So it's like he's like, do your bed when you get up, like don't cut corners, freaking be excellent, be great, and set an example and da, da, da. So he's great. There's not very many people like that going
No.
around the world speaking of and very like about truth and everything. There's so much to him that I'll never shut up. But yeah, he's awesome.
That's
I
awesome.
think
Not
you would
no, no,
like
I have to
him.
look it. Now I have to look into him.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me see. I was thinking about what what to get into. I don't know. Is there anything that you want to tackle? Anything you want to bring up?
Um, well, last time when we got together, we were talking about that book that you read. What was it? The Alpha, I think, something like that.
Ah, you're gonna bring up the unplugged alpha?
Why not? That was a conversation because I thought it was an interesting conversation.
It's so fiery. It's so fiery. I proceed with caution because I want to say now that I got a little bit more feedback from like the female
Mhm.
uh feedback that I got was like, not every female that is single and has kids is trying to um play games or get a man that's of high value for his money for the benefit of it. For example, this one girl, she was like, I actually, when I'm dating or I'm in a serious relationship, I tell them that I want them to be best friends, just like friends, and then with the Unplugged Alpha, I believe the bottom of the title says how to win in life and with women. So he basically has a chapter on red flags, and like he's kind of helping young men and men um not get into bad relationships with women that maybe don't have their best interest in it, and they are doing it for their benefit, and they are doing it because of the money, and they are doing it because of the lifestyle, um and or because at the end, if they get divorced, they end up in a better position that they were previous. So you can see where it gets kind of spicy, and
Yeah.
it really does for some women trigger them because that's maybe their intentions. And I'm coming from a family that's mostly women, and so I did hear the conversations, and I give him the it's true. It's 100% true. And he says things like, the person you marry is sometimes not the same person you divorce. And I've
That's true.
seen it's so true. I've seen it. It's like their eyes change. It's like they're on a mission. They're on a I gotta get everything I can, and it's like, oh my God, like you really see it. You really do. And it's like, I'm keeping the kids because that gives me more child support, and that gives me alimony, and that gives, and they're, like, let me keep the house. And it's never like fair down the line, down the middle. And so he is like, well, from my experience, because he's gotten divorced, it's like avoid these red flags in women. And he doesn't say just like these girls are bad, discard them. He's
Mhm.
saying if you don't see that they're actively working on them, or they're not even aware of them, like there's a difference. So um he's like, red flag, a woman with a kid is kind of a red flag if they are introducing you to their kid really fast. If they
I actually agree
are
with that though.
I freaking agree.
Yeah,
I
that's
agree. And I
true.
feel kind of like, oh, because I've seen it. And then he's like, you're gonna you're gonna end up in a position where you are 100% responsible for paying all the dinners and the kids' dinner and the gifts, and Christmas comes around, and it's like you become that figure for them without any authority. Because when it comes to the discipline of that child, you have absolutely no say so. And God forbid you say anything to her kid, because all of a sudden it becomes her kid, where you had to dish out everything equal as if that was your kid in every other scenario. And so then he's like, I've seen it to where, you're in this position where you feel like you're given, like the father role, but in reality, no.
Yeah,
And
you're not.
so, uh-huh. And so he's just like, sorry, that's a red flag. Because if I choose to love you and want to be with you and accept your kid too, even though he doesn't have my last name, it's not my kid, but I would love to help and raise and all that. You end up in a position where it's just not fair. And he's like, it's just not worth the squeeze because God forbid you guys break up. That was never your kid, or that kid looks at you different, or like, whatever. So he just has so many good points. Um, and so nobody wants to hear that. Like if I had a baby and somebody told me that, I would get offended,
Yeah.
right? But because no one really knows your intentions. But let's say, um, I don't know what it is. Actually, we should break that down. What is
I mean,
that?
what I find interesting is that usually we see like women self-help books and like women relationship books. I don't really hear like men's side. I guess, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not to say that men don't read, of course men read, but I feel like women are more interested in reading stuff like that. So I find it really interesting there's a book about that. And I'm glad you read it
Mm-hmm.
because I'd be so curious too to see how they see it and like
Mm-hmm.
what are they seeing red flags in women. And if I find that interesting. And when you first told me about the kid thing, like I didn't know all the information and I was thinking like, okay, that's kind of weird to consider that a red flag. But
Mm-hmm.
the way he explains it, I can see why certain aspects could be a red flag. But why women
Mm-hmm.
will be offended by it, I mean, look at me. I was at first thinking, why is that a red flag? But then maybe because they don't understand, or I don't know. That is a good question.
Why? Okay, if I had a because of that, because I'm a single mother, I'm
Mhm.
paying my own bills, I'm paying for all my kids' things, and here's this person that can help me.
True.
But ultimately, and that's why they're considered a red flag because he's like, you weren't really trying to be with me forever.
Yeah.
Because if I love you and I want to be with you and I'm accepting you and your child, and I know that word like accepting us, it's fucking true though, because you're not the
Mhm.
only person alive. So it is an extra thing, an extra mouth, an
Yep.
extra clothing, an extra more, water bill, more. It is extra.
It is.
So I have to just, I don't care. I love you. I love your kid because he's yours, right? Um, if we're gonna be forever together, forever, because that's how I think as a man. And you'd be surprised because he goes over like statistics and stuff like when you're a good guy, you do choose a good woman. You try your best to find a good woman because you are thinking long haul, because men think long haul. Like they're not like, oh, I'm in this job for 4 years, 3 years, I'm gonna move and live somewhere else. They want a family and they want stability because the world is unstable. Things change, da da da. So their peace is the home. Like
Yeah.
probably the only peace they have is the home. So when they get with a girl, then that means if you do not give him authority as a father figure to raise his voice at the kid if he's disrespectful, to the kid to be respectful to him, and then that person they feel disenfranchised, they feel like there's nothing they can do. And I saw that in my own home. Like my little sister, she has a different father, but my mother would always tell him, me and my other sister, that we have the same dad, like, those are not your daughters. You don't talk to
Oh.
them. You don't like, those are my daughters. Da, da, da. She said that thing. But if you're my little sister's father, like I missed out on a father figure.
Mhm.
I definitely did. And so that falls under another red flag, which is daddy issues. And I've
Yeah.
heard of that one before, but I've heard it more so like daddy issues are like the girls that are strippers, the girls that are like very like highly
Mhm.
sexual and like they project a lot of sexuality, and they don't really, modesty is not a thing for them because they are who they are, and you can't tell them anything. So the father figure is the figure that would be in the home that just looks at you a certain way. Like you're not you're not wearing that, to
Mhm.
that little mini skirt to go watch movies at 14 years old, 13 years old, right? So that demeanor is what I learned from the book, that it just means that you never had a masculine role in your life that was looking out for you. The
I like the way you
masculine
put
role in your
that.
life,
Yes. Mhm.
yeah, the masculine role you always experienced was the guy trying to get in your pants, was the guy that was egotistic, that was narcissistic, that was, had ulterior motives. Maybe a masculine, let's say a teacher, a masculine figure, but they're, again, not looking out for you. They're more about
Mhm.
doing their job and getting the recognition they want, you know? So I didn't realize that. I'm like, fuck, it's true.
That
So
is true.
the rare times that you come across a masculine man, an alpha man, those guys are more like firm, more about like order and driving their family forward or their life forward. That's the first step. He's like, you shouldn't chase women, you should chase excellence because you're building a good man. So he says, women are born, so we are who we are. We're feminine. We're what, that's our nature. But man is made. It takes years of building a great character, great like uh boundaries, respect for yourself, accountability for yourself, success, um, saving the money to buy a house, making the money to be able to buy the house. Like it takes years. And so you're chasing excellence. And that's the only way you're going to get a woman that's valuable. And that's the only way you're going to be able to recognize her, right? So
Mhm.
everyone else, we can literally see them as low hanging fruit. Men that are trying to sleep with women, those are men that are low hanging fruit,
Low
looking
hanging
for low
fruit.
hanging fruit.
Mhm.
The man that created himself and built himself doesn't want the low hanging fruit women. I'm
They want.
sorry. I worked my ass off to
Mhm.
create this lifestyle. And so he's like, so chase excellence. And then the woman should be a complement to the life that you built, which is actually a nice touch. It's the feminine touch that you're bringing into this lifestyle you created and this character and this demeanor that you created. So you're gifting her this great, beautiful art project thing that you did for yourself, and then you picked her in the sense of like, I really, this woman really gets my attention and fulfills me some way, and maybe her femininity, the way she is, the way she talks, she she's a compliment to my life, and I want her in my life. And so that's where he presents you, or what's the word, like brings you into his life, and that's what he says that makes you an alpha, because it's like you're ushering her into your life. It's like, this is what I have for you, this is what I have to offer you. And so then the woman is like, well, one, you should appreciate it, and it should be surprising because there's so much shit, man. There's so many crappy men that should wow you, and then that, the dynamic, what it does, it makes her more feminine, more relaxed, and just like appreciative. And then that's where I realized, like, whoa, I never thought of that. Like
Mhm.
feminism, what do you feel like, what do you think about like feminist? Not like a,
Feminist
yeah,
or
feminism, not like femininity, not like being feminine, like the movement of, you know I'm a boss bitch, like I got money, no guy tells me what to do.
um
Um,
I have mixed
because
feelings with
it
that.
contradicts.
Yes, I have mixed
Yeah,
feelings because um well, I think it could be uplifting and encouraging for a lot of women, like being the boss babe and all stuff like that. At the same time, I think it could not be encouraging and kind of like critical because nowadays it seems as if that is the only thing women should strive to be, is to be self-employed, is to be the boss, is to be without a man. And then now women who don't want that, who just, let's say, want a husband and want to be a housewife and a mother, they start getting criticized about it. I mean, I think the whole idea of being in this movement should be to encourage women to do what their heart really tells them to do. If to be a boss is in their heart, then of course, go for it. I love to see women own companies and women running the show, but at the same time, I don't think it's something that all women feel they should strive for, and we should accept that.
yeah, yeah. So I ask you because he's like, it kind of clashes because the energy shifts. And yes, we all have feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah,
But there's a few people that have mentioned that is more of a masculine energy,
I
because you're
agree.
go-getting, because you're da
Yeah,
da da, you know. And in this scenario of like a good man, alpha masculine man, he's like, they don't want to live with another masculine
hmm,
because there's tension, because there could be every now and then, but there's mostly going to be, you're getting home from work, there was, a dispute with a client, or someone's behind on a payment, and you're tense, right? So
hmm,
the home is tense when they get home, as opposed to peaceful and feminine and loving, and um because I didn't know that they thought this way, but they do because they're out working and whatever they're doing all day. And then when they get home, it's like it switches. I didn't think that anyone thought of that because I didn't. I never
I
experienced
mean,
that. My whole family was on masculine all the time and we're all
yeah.
girls.
I mean, I feel like it depends. Like, I feel like there are men who could like, I don't know if cooperate's the correct word, but like
Mhm.
can go with that flow with a kind of boss woman.
Yes.
And I think they could work, but at the same time, I mean, maybe this is kind of a touchy thing, but at the same time, I think it's creating beta men. I mean, I don't know if you saw that one um like TikTok or reel that was going around. And yeah, it was a joke, but I personally didn't find it funny. Was the like, would you be a stay-at-home husband if your wife made six figures? And then you
I
see all
remember
the
that.
men, and I'm like,
They're like with
no,
with the
yeah.
towel wrapped in
I mean,
vacuuming.
I know it's a joke. Okay, fine, haha. But I'm like, a real man wouldn't do that. I mean,
Absolutely
okay,
fucking
I know
not. That's
they wouldn't,
offensive
and
to them, to their ego, to their
exactly.
persona. It should
Exactly.
be.
And me personally, I can never be with a man who'd be like, I don't care how much I make, but I know to each his own, but I feel like that kind of movement is making men think, oh, cool, I'll just depend on my woman. And I don't know, it's kind of ruining the kind of masculine and feminine energy that's meant to coexist.
That brings me to like another point in the book where he's like, women will test a man
Mhm.
and throughout will 100, like it's almost unconscious behavior. They're gonna always try. And I think actually that's like just humanity. When no one's looking, you try to if you don't get caught, you will keep trying to push the boundary, push
Yep.
the boundary, push the
Hmm.
boundary, women or men, like it doesn't matter. But he obviously is talking about something very specific. So he's like, look, women will will test you. Some people call it like a shit test. Some say, I don't know. But for example, they'll ask you, or they'll put a rule or a boundary that it's almost like a test because if you agree to it, like you play too much basketball. You're playing too much basketball. Like I need you to be home more days than you go out and play basketball. He's like,
Okay.
you agree to that, you're becoming beta. You just are. He's like, you lived your life creating your schedule, your masculinity. You know, you're going to jujitsu, you're doing basketball or gym, whatever you choose. You're going to work. You know, you wake up early. Um, you have like your life plan. You know where you're going. You know your goals. You know, and you brought you brought her into your life, and then she's gonna start chopping at the things that you do. And what ends up happening, unfortunately, is they lose respect for you over
Yeah.
time because all of a sudden you're just hanging out at the house, sitting on the couch.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so true. It's like, no, let's wear matching pajamas. Let's go to Target. Let's they start pulling you in to their
Hmm.
shit. And it's like she lived her whole life fine. She went to Target by herself. She bought her pajamas. She doesn't need you to be her BFF in that energy way, like in that way. You need your guy friends. She needs her girlfriends. Like you need to honor what you are, but don't let her bring you into because little by little he's like, I dated people that, are divorced or are not in their relationships with their baby's fathers. and and he's like, it's almost like an audio clip that replays. I love him, but I'm not in love with him. So
Yeah.
he's like, you know what I like to do, which is kind of rude. It's kind of fucked. I don't know if I should curse, but sorry, I guess we'll edit it.
It's too
It's
late. You
kind of
already did.
fucked. Yeah, I've been crazy. Um, he's like, you know what I like to do? I say, well, he was good enough for you once upon a time. What happened to him?
That's a good point.
And he is like, you can literally almost see the rage. Like, how dare you hold me accountable? And it's like, because they start chopping at your balls. Like, you know, you can't do this anymore. I need you here.
But
And
going
it's
going
just like,
back to
whoa.
a point you made, I think the issue with that is also with the woman, because right now you said she was used to, let's say, going to Target by herself and doing this by herself. But a lot of women these days aren't used to being by themselves. They always need company. They always need someone. So then what? They get a man and they want to bring him along because they just don't want to be alone. And I think
Mm-hmm.
some bit of independence or even alone time is so healthy that
Mm-hmm.
people are afraid of being alone and doing stuff by themselves. But I think it's a healthy thing to do. So then when you have someone, it's for real company, not to drag them for like Target shops, shopping sprees, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. You know what? I just remembered remember when um when I broke up with that in the long-term relationship, one of my first things that I remember creating stories for was when I started doing things on my own. Remember, I was like, I'm going to the
Oh,
beach for
yes,
the first time by
I
myself.
do
And I
remember
was like
that.
freaking out.
Hmm.
My brain, it was like something so important I had to do. And I'm like, who cares? Who cares if they're judging me? Like, who cares? I'm sure other people go through this shit. And I was like, I'm
Hmm.
going to my first yoga class by myself in public. Like I'm looking for the freaking group. I don't find it. I was like in South Beach looking for my group
Yeah, I
from
remember
Eventbrite.
that actually. Yes.
Uh-huh. And I was like, oh my God, my fucking yoga mat. Like freaking out. I was freaking out. And I was like, I can do it. I'm a big girl. I'm a big girl. And it's like, you know what? That's a good point. We
Yeah.
as women should, and that's not being masculine.
No,
That's
it's
just
not.
being self self-sufficient. I don't think that's the
Hmm.
word.
Well,
It's
it's
just
part
being
of the word.
autonomous. Like it's you. Like how
Hmm.
about you build your self confidence, or you just yourself. You don't even have to be confident. You don't even have
Enjoy
to be
your
confident.
enjoy your own company.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
figure it out.
Hmm.
Put yourself out in the real world and figure it out. It's almost going to give you an extra sense, because I remember I had to be more aware of my surroundings. I had to figure out where these people were. You know,
Hmm.
normally the guy,
Does
my
it?
boyfriend, is like, you know, he has the GPS, or he knows, he has more spatial awareness than her. And it's just like so true.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing.
You,
So
like now that you mentioned that, you feel like such a different person from then. Because I remember when you
yeah,
posted that video, you're like, "Oh, I can't find my yoga class," and
I was such a chicken.
yeah.
Now I'm like, I go on like subways in New York and stuff, and it's
Well, no,
like,
no, you weren't a chicken because you actually went out and did it. So that
yeah.
took you to be brave. So no, you weren't a chicken.
You want to know something? I I had a business when I used to sell like the CBD at the
Hmm.
shop, and I was like, you know what? I could probably go to the mall and hand out flyers. I remember I went on Canva and I made these flyers, and I was like, I'm gonna walk in the mall and I'm going to hand out the flyers. And I have my number there, and I'll get calls, and then I can do calls like I'll bring it to you. Or you could come pick it up at my shop. Like I just felt like that was such a great idea. I got all dressed up. I did my hair. Like I was ready in my head. I saw myself walking down the mall and be like, "Hey, my name is Dorelis. I saw this product. This is so good for any arthritis, like knee pain, headaches, going to sleep." I saw myself freaking glowing doing it. You know what I did?
Hmm.
I
What?
stayed in my car,
Really?
hyperventilating.
So you never went out?
I couldn't do it. Like I feel like
Wow.
crying right now. And it hurts so bad. Even when you're in it, it hurts because you literally feel like something's holding you down. but in your heart you really want to do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand that dynamic, and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I remember I would hype myself up, and then I would get off and walk with my flyers and like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Once I went in and I would walk, and then I felt like I don't want to approach anyone because I don't want to, like, they're shopping.
Yeah.
It's actually the freaking perfect place because people are shopping and you're
And people are
introducing
handing
your
out stuff all the
product.
time, and they're like, "Hey, come to my
Yeah.
shop." Yeah.
And I was too shy. And I always said it's the shy. I think it's insecurity. I can hide behind the shy word, but I think it's insecurity. And I remember once I was just like, oh, there's tabletops. There was like some high top tables. So I was like,
Mhm.
that, yeah, I did. I put the flyer on top of the
Because you didn't
tables,
have to approach
because
anyone.
I didn't
But it's okay. I mean, those are, I know I probably wouldn't have be able to do that either. But it comes with
so,
growth.
and so going to that yoga class by myself was the biggest deal. Going to the beach by myself was the biggest deal. Everything was like the biggest deal. Like just mentally. That is a block. That's like intense. It's not logical. What is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
just not. Can you explain that? Because I can't.
It doesn't
You see
seem
it. You
like
see the vision.
you tell that to anyone and it wouldn't seem like it's the biggest deal, but it is. Those are big steps, whether they seem it or not. The spending time by yourself.
Yeah.
Well, we have 3 minutes, so we have three
Okay.
minutes for closing words.
um, I've done all the talking. Maybe if you want to, like, I don't
Well,
know, summarize
I
what we
think I
spoke
think
about.
we hit on good topics. So this also opens the door for our next tea time with Ellis because you're mentioning
Yeah.
about what you wanted to do, and maybe we can talk about something when we actually stepped out of our comfort zone and did something for next time.
Mm, yeah.
And next time I'll
Yeah.
bring tea.
Okay. We should get some teacups. Do you have teacups?
Do I? I feel like I do, but I don't know. My
We
sister has
both
like
have
a Japanese
nieces.
tea set. Well,
Show up with our nieces teacup.
I have toy teacups.
I bet we do. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you know what I just thought?
What?
From Beauty and the Beast.
We should what?
The little teacup from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, Chip.
Chip. Mm-hmm.
Chip. I'm going to Disney tomorrow. Maybe I'll find something.
I think you are gonna find
I know, right? I'm
Chip.
gonna find the
If
perfect
you
thing.
find Chip, get me one, and then you'll have one, and then we'll have matching, and I'll sell you the money.
Matching teacups. That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Well, I think this
Okay.
concludes our first
This was
episode.
great.
Yay!
I'm glad we did this.
Me too.
All right. I'll see you next
Alrighty.
time.